My husband left me after I tried to warn my brother-in-law about his cheating wife. 3 years later, karma catches up and his life completely falls apart. This is going to be a long ride, so please bear with me. I, female, 37, got married to my now ex-husband Liam, male, 42, 10 years ago. Ours was a happy marriage by all means, even though I did have some issues with his family, but it was nothing that I either couldn't tolerate or ignore, so things between us were fine. His family had a very close bond with each other. He had an elder sister, Emily, now 46, female, and she was married to my ex-brother-in-law, Jonathan, now 48, male. Emily and Jonathan had 2 kids, and Emily was a stay-at-home mom. The kids were the apple of Liam's eye, and he simply doted on them. They were good kids, and I liked them a lot too, and between Liam and me, I was the fun aunt, so it was all cool. Around 5 years ago, Liam and I fell into a bit of a financial slump. I took a break from my job to focus on my mental health. My former workplace was extremely toxic, with no boundaries and no timings. I was supposed to be at their beck and call all the time, and my managers and bosses were as unsupportive as could be. I was in a horrible place mentally at that point in time and decided to take a break from work. I discussed all of this with Liam, and he was the one who told me to go for it and supported me through the decision. Our finances have always been separate for personal expenses. We have a joint account for groceries, home stuff, date nights, etc., basically everything that we do together. This joint account is proportionate to our incomes. Since he made more than me, his contribution to the joint account in actuals was more. Even though we were contributing the same percentage of our income to the joint account, I had carefully looked at my finances and only then decided that I was in a comfortable space to take this hiatus, and I had never asked or even suggested that Liam pay my share or anything of that sort. Actually, he was the one who had proposed that idea, and I had shot it down immediately. I did not want to disturb the setup that we had, and I knew that I had enough savings to cover my share until I decided to get back into the workforce. Liam, too, had a well-paying job in a multinational firm, and there was no need for us to have faced the financial issues that we ended up facing. 3 months into my being out of work, Liam started behaving weirdly. He would snap at me if I told him to get takeout. He would snap if I bought something new. Some of the money that I was spending was from the joint account, but never for my personal expenses. If I didn't want to cook on a particular day and suggested that we go out, he would either give lame excuses or straight up start being mean. After a few tries, I backed off. However, even when I spent my personal savings that he had no say over, he would start acting strange. It was very unlike him because in all the years that I had been married to him, I had never seen him try to control or give opinions on how I should be spending my money. So I pulled him up and asked what was wrong. He tried to brush it off at first, but then told me that he had gambled away almost all of our savings, and we had close to nothing left. He was the one who controlled our finances, and I trusted him with mine too. I never paid attention to my account because I trusted him with the money, and this had never happened before. This is exactly why I initially thought that he was joking. But when I saw the seriousness in his eyes, I was shocked to my core. I wanted to leave him at that very instant because he had gambled away my life's worth of money, and this break was supposed to be for me. Now suddenly, I had this specter looming over my head of getting our affairs back in order. When I looked at our finances, it was much worse than what he had made it out to be. We were literally bankrupt, and our house was on the verge of getting repossessed. I frantically started applying to places and got him into therapy. Luckily enough, I had a job offer in the next 3 days, and the perks were amazing, so I knew I could slowly get us out of this and recreate our wealth. I was still mad at him for betraying my trust like that, but there was so much going on and so much to do that I did not even have the time to be angry at him. During this time, I repeatedly kept asking him to talk to Jonathan for help. He's filthy rich, but Liam kept saying no. I didn't know what his stupid deal was, but I knew that I was not going to screw myself over because he couldn't ask his own brother-in-law for help. I ended up calling Jonathan and explaining the situation to him, and he helped us out immediately. Instead of being grateful, Liam started a fight with me, saying that I emasculated him as the man of the family in front of his own brother-in-law. Even at such a crucial point in our lives where we were practically having to start from scratch, he only cared about his stupid ego and the facade he had created in front of the world. This was my tipping point. I was furious with him. He had single-handedly destroyed not just the fruits of his efforts but also mine, and had completely derailed the plans that we had made for ourselves as a family. I told him that he had emasculated himself by showing no responsibility towards our family and our future, especially since we had decided that we would be trying for a baby. I told him that he made one stupid decision after another and blew away everything that we had worked so hard for, and I also drew a line saying that I would not be having a baby if he did not get his act together. He got madder at me for being a controlling wife rather than being grateful that I had gotten us out of this mess, of course, not without the help of Jonathan. Slowly, over the course of the next year and a half, we created money for ourselves and repaid every penny to Jonathan. I will always be grateful to him for standing by us and helping us out of a mess that had nothing to do with him. Liam, however, was still salty about the fact that I took Jonathan's help because he had not wanted everyone in the family to know the pit that we were in. Thankfully, Jonathan had not uttered a word to anyone, not even Emily. Things had been strained between me and Liam since then, but I knew that I wanted things to get better between us, if not now, then eventually. However, something else happened that made me lose all respect for him as an individual. Once we were back on our feet, things got a little better. However, during family get-togethers, I could sense a strain between Emily and Jonathan. I know it was not my business, but I was concerned and worried, especially about Jonathan. I expressed myself to Liam and asked him if I was the only one who sensed it or whether he had felt the difference too. He said that I was overthinking and that nothing was wrong. However, 2 days later, I had gone to Emily's place to leave some tarts for the kids. They loved my tarts, and she was behaving very weirdly. She seemed to be in a hurry and wanted me to leave as soon as possible. I knew something was up, so while I left the house, I stayed in my car to see what she was up to. Call me creepy or whatever, but it was my intuition that told me something was happening and it needed my intervention. Lo and behold, I see a man coming out of the house, and Emily is seeing him off. I wouldn't have immediately suspected her of anything if she had behaved in a less guilty way. The man had a cap over his head, and he was slouching. It was evident that he didn't want anyone to see who he was. I read their body language, and I knew in an instant that she was cheating on Jonathan. I was appalled and disgusted at her audacity and thanklessness. Part of me wanted to confront her there and then, but I was too scared of her reaction, and I didn't even know whether this was the correct thing to do or not. I decided to go straight back home and told Liam what I saw. I had expected shock, rage, disgust, or maybe even disbelief from him, but I could never in a million years have expected what he said next. Liam did the exact opposite of what I thought he would do. He was quiet for a few seconds and asked me if there was anyone else that I had told. I told him no, and he heaved a sigh of relief. He said I needed to keep it under wraps and never tell anyone what I saw. To say that I was shocked would be an understatement. I told him that he had lost his mind if he thought that I would keep mum and let Jonathan suffer in a marriage with a cheating wife. He said that we did not know if they were cheating, and that they could have an open marriage for all we know. I told him that both he and I knew Jonathan enough to know that he would never agree to such an arrangement. However, I told him that even if he had, we had to make sure that she was not cheating on him, and that meant that we had to talk to him. I was adamant that we would talk to John first, and only then talk to Emily, because I knew even if Emily was up to something shady, she would come up with something on the fly and save herself. He kept resisting and trying to come up with new and innovative reasons as to why we shouldn't tell John. He said that I had no need to be involved in someone's personal drama. Then he said that it shouldn't be my concern, that neither of us knew what was happening in their relationship. To be honest, I found myself relenting a couple of times and contemplating talking to Emily first. My rational mind knew that what was happening was wrong and that I needed to step in to save the man who had saved my family. However, the emotional side of me, the side that Liam was manipulating completely, was leaning towards accepting all his absurd excuses and justifications as to why his dear sister was doing what she did. This internal battle raged within me for a long time when I finally decided that I could not deal with this anymore and that I had to do the right thing, even if it came at a cost. But before I told Jonathan, I wanted to let Liam know that I would be spilling the beans. To say that he went batshit crazy is an understatement. We had the biggest fight of our lives that day, and he was just not willing to listen to me. This fight was even worse than the ones we had during his entire gambling episode. He kept on saying that I had no right to interfere in his sister's life and ruin it. I told him that his stance on cheating and his fierce defense of his sister were alarming and were making me wonder what his reaction would be if I cheated. He said he would not have wanted someone else to come and tell him about his own wife, but I was having none of it. I had a nagging feeling that maybe, just maybe, the fact that he was defending Emily's infidelity so much was him trying to rationalize his own cheating. I had a suspicion solely based on his reaction that he was cheating. I had no proof, no reason other than this to even have a morsel of doubt, but that seed was planted. I drove over to Jonathan's house, and I wanted to have a confrontation with Emily present, but unfortunately, she wasn't there. I told everything to him, and he broke down crying in front of me. He said that he had been having doubts regarding her infidelity, but he had no proof and nothing to say because he could not just accuse her based on his instinct. I told him that I had nothing substantial either. I had just seen her in a very flustered state, and right after that, a few minutes later, a man had left the house. I told him that, logically speaking, it could have been a worker, a friend, or anyone else. But my gut said something very different. He thanked me for telling him, and that was it. For the next few weeks, there was no news of what was up. Liam and I were in a sort of cold war, but I don't think he had told Emily that I had discovered the affair or had told Jonathan. However, Jonathan dropped the bomb one day and said that Emily and he were going for a divorce. This came as a shock to my ex-mother-in-law and ex-father-in-law because nobody had anticipated that this would happen. They had always been the couple that was very much in love and lived a picture-perfect life, at least in the eyes of others. This is why it came as a shock to everyone, other than me, of course. Emily was sullen and looked like she had been crying. And Jonathan stayed a true gentleman and never divulged to anyone why he had decided to leave her. Just that there was nothing that could be done to salvage the relationship anymore. A few days after this, Emily came to my house and was screaming at me at the top of her lungs. I knew then that Liam had told her that I was the one who had told John. She cursed me and said things that I cannot repeat to anyone, even in private. I kept my cool through it all and told her that she had brought this upon herself and that blaming me would not change things. She was the one who had chosen to cheat, and therefore she was the one who had to face the consequences of her actions. Liam and I had stopped talking completely by then. Living in the same house as him was a mental strain that I had to put myself through every single day. Gradually, Emily and Liam started influencing other members of the family against me. Emily stopped her kids from meeting me. Liam told his mother that I was the one who had fed John lies regarding poor Emily, which is why they were separating. I was turned into the villain overnight, and everyone was so busy antagonizing me that they did not realize who the actual problem was. I had finally had enough one day, and I snapped. Liam and I had been having trouble since his gambling came to light, and with this drama happening. I knew that I wanted to divorce him, and that nothing that he could ever do would make me respect him again. I could not picture myself living with a gambler and somebody who could defend cheating. He was behaving like a guilty man, and to be honest, I had a lurking fear that he was cheating on me too. But by then, I had mentally checked out of the marriage, and thus, even if he was having an affair, it wouldn't really have bothered me. This further cemented my decision to go for a divorce. I called all of the family together and told them the real reason why Emily and Jonathan were having a divorce. I told them that I had seen her with a stranger, and I had confided in Liam, who was willing to defend his sister to the bone. Nothing that I said was making him see sense, and when I told Jonathan about the affair, the brother-sister duo started maligning me publicly. I also told them that they had treated me horribly during this entire ordeal and that I was done taking this treatment from them. To my surprise, even my ex-mother-in-law and ex-father-in-law started defending their children. This was when I understood without a shadow of a doubt that this family was completely bonkers, and I was completely right in choosing to walk away from this toxic family for the sake of my mental health. When I publicly announced that I would also be going for a divorce, there was pin-drop silence in the house. Liam looked like somebody had struck a lamp on his head. His eyes were as big as balls, and I cannot describe the satisfaction that I felt in seeing him like that. I also told him that since he had such a close-knit family, he needed to move out of my house within 2 weeks because I was dead set on going through with this. His tone made a complete backflip, and he kept on apologizing and saying that we could work through this. In all honesty, we could, but I didn't want to. He tried to turn over a new leaf. He tried to organize date nights and book spa appointments, as if my problem was a lack of attention. He did not understand the gravity of the situation. I had to sit him down and tell him that I was leaving him because I did not like who he was as a man. It was not something that he could change in me, and my decision to leave him was final. He had a hard time accepting it, but eventually he had to. He moved out of the house eventually, and our divorce was finalized pretty soon, around the same time that Jonathan and Emily got divorced. Within a few months, I sold my house and moved states for a better job opportunity. I made the move to my current state and job 3 years ago. I have since then not been in touch with anyone from the family. Jonathan and I do talk to each other once in a while, but nothing more. 2 days ago, I got a text from a random number. It was Liam. He was crying hysterically on the phone, saying that he made the biggest mistake of his life by letting me go and that he should have fought harder to keep me and trusted my instincts every step of the way. I was not really in the mood for his regret, so I asked him what was up. Apparently, he recently got married to Emily's friend, and he was happy, but since last week, both Emily and his new wife have been missing. At first, he thought something had happened to them, and he went to the police, but the police got back in touch with him, saying that both of them were safe and had asked him not to try and contact them. Basically, his new wife and sister had emptied his bank account and run away together. I am hoping for his sake that it is only for a vacation and that they will be back because he is thoroughly screwed if it is something else entirely. He was bawling on the phone like a toddler, and I wanted to laugh in his face rather than comfort him. Call me mean, but it is what it is. He got this upon himself, and he can now go and lie in the grave that he dug. I told him that I was sorry for what was happening, but couldn't really understand why he was involving me in his personal drama. He went silent for a while, and I knew I had delivered the dig that I wanted, and he said he wanted my help in trying to track down where they were. He also needed my input on how to improve his finances, since I was the one who had gotten him out of the mess the last time. I told him to eat dirt, and that I was not helping him out. I told him that I had nothing more to do with him and anything he faced was his problem and his alone, and then I disconnected the call. I hate to admit this, but I am delighted that he is finally facing consequences for ruining my life. I am glad I divorced him and in no way want him back, but he made me work so hard to replenish our wealth and then showed me his true colors and his stand on cheating. That was what had hurt me the most. Had I known he would turn out to be someone like this, I would have walked out of the marriage the minute he told me about the gambling. But I stayed, I slogged, and I did it only for him. All of this amounts to nothing. This is what pissed me off the most. And I am glad that his actions and habits are finally catching up to him, and that Emily betrayed him out of all the people in the world. Update 1. One small update. I did some snooping because this is fresh tea, and why not? I found out that Emily and Liam's wife, who is only 21 years old by the way, have booked a trip to Europe and are spending lavishly. They are updating their social media frequently, which makes me a little suspicious because that is public information and therefore easily accessible. They have posted on Instagram and whatnot, but I think that they might have everyone from the family blocked, so nobody knows what is happening on their end. I don't know if I should tell Liam about what I found out or not. One part of me thinks that I should just let him know and help him out with information at least. The other part says that if I do help him, he will cling to me like a leech and will ask for more favors. Moreover, if I could find out their whereabouts, so can he if he would just use his brains and quit weeping like a baby. He texted me a sob story again and said I needed to help him or he would be at the lowest point of his life. I can't deal with this nonsense every few days, and I am considering giving in, but I don't know. Update 2. It has been some time since I last updated. A new drama has stirred up. I did end up telling him what I had found, and he thanked me and started asking for more favors. But I told him that this was where I draw the line and that I would not be entertaining any more of his pleas or even calls. He sounded offended by this, but he bit his tongue and didn't argue with me. I thought that was it because he hadn't called me after that. 2 nights ago, my ex-mother-in-law called me in the middle of the night. She sounded frantic, saying that they had landed in legal trouble and needed my help with something. I'm a lawyer. She said that Liam's new wife, Samantha, had actually eloped with him, and her parents are now threatening to file a case for abduction against Liam. I shot up from my bed like somebody had electrocuted me. Liam had run away with a 21-year-old, which means that despite her being of age, this was emotional manipulation. I felt pookish and disgusted. I could not believe I had been married to a predatory man like him. I told my mother-in-law that if Samantha had come of her own accord, the allegations would be null and void, and there was nothing that her parents could do. It was here where my ex-mother-in-law started crying, saying that Samantha is now agreeing to what her parents are saying. She is also saying that he was involved with her when she was a minor and has groomed her, so she will not be taking a stand for Liam. This blew my mind. I did the math and realized that this was why he was defending his cheating sister so fiercely. It was because he was also cheating on me and grooming a minor girl. I told my ex-mother-in-law that all of them deserved to rot in the afterlife because they had played with a young girl's life and emotions. She begged me to represent Liam, saying that they were all sorry, but I told her that I would happily fight against him if the case arose, but never for him. I also told her that she had some audacity coming to me, knowing full well that her dear son cheated on me with a minor, used my resources to build his life back up, and is now facing consequences for what he has done. She cursed me a bit and disconnected the call. I've been having sleepless nights since then. I cannot believe that he would turn out to be a predator. There were no signs of this, or there might have been some that I missed, but I feel like barfing to the ends of the world because of my association with somebody as disgusting as my ex-husband. He deserves to rot in jail for the rest of his life, and some years after. I feel bad for the poor girl. I can't even blame her. Even if this started when she was 17, that would be 4 years ago, and Liam was 38 then. He was involved with a school-going kid, someone 21 years his junior, and had ended up marrying her. I don't know how this girl was Emily's friend, and if Emily was the one who had introduced them, it was even more disturbing because that meant that the entire family was dangerous. and I saved myself and my future from them in the nick of time. Update 3. I thankfully have no direct updates from anyone from my ex's family. My ex-mother-in-law has gone silent, and so has Liam. Jonathan, however, spoke to me, and I got to know a few things from him. Apparently, Emily and Samantha had come back home within a few weeks, and it was here that Samantha started changing her tune. She said that she had been groomed, and that she wanted to divorce Liam and go back. Her parents then got involved and said that they would be pressing charges against him. Jonathan said that the case her parents had stood on shaky grounds, but it was enough to scare the family. So much so that Liam paid a good amount of money to Samantha and her family to keep quiet and not press any kind of charges. So, he is officially screwed financially. Emily feigned innocence in all of this, saying that Samantha had told her that Liam had given her the money. Everybody knows it is bull, but they don't have anyone other than each other. News is that my ex-mother-in-law and ex-father-in-law are planning to downsize, and everyone is going to be sharing a one-bedroom apartment until things can get sorted. Since Emily works a minimum wage job and Liam has literally no money left in his bank account, Jonathan told me that Emily had called him up, begging for scraps, but he did not entertain her calls. He has full custody of the kids, so she couldn't trick him into giving money that way. All in all, the entire family is codependent and seriously messed up, and I am so glad I got out of their chaos when I did. Even though I would have preferred not to be involved with them in any capacity ever, I had hoped Liam would serve jail time for what he did to the poor girl. He is a groomer and a criminal, and I know for sure that if he can pull off something like this once, he's going to do it again. I wish something could be done to put him behind bars, but sharing a one-bedroom with his parents and sister is a kind of jail already, so he is in for some fun. I have not been contacted by them, and I also have them blocked on every possible account and device, so I'm hoping that nothing else happens and that I don't have a reason to update. I'm sick of their drama, and I need some peace of my own.